You're listening to the Indie Echo Podcast, a showcase of independent music and the artists that make it. I'm Jordan, producer at High Five Music. Today's featured artist is an indie folk and lo-fi pop singer-songwriter from New Jersey. His latest releases are the single, Passport, and the EP, Suddenly I Demand Repair. Here's Ross Newhouse.
You are my only constant. You're a flicker of light. The empire stayed in the dark. You are my only constant. You're a good heart or a landmark love.
Ross, thanks for being here, man. I've been listening to your EP and your new single over the weekend, and it just has a very pleasant, clean sound.
Thank you.
So how did you do it?
So I started off with Answers. That was the first song I ever recorded. I formerly played in a band, and I had a bunch of songs that I had been writing that I wanted to just explore releasing as a solo artist. So Answers I recorded pretty much in my basement. I was living in Bushwick in Brooklyn at the time, and recorded the guitar and tracked the vocals. And I went with a producer friend who I had named Jake Fine, who's an awesome lo-fi producer. He's a crazy guitar player. And I went over to his place about 2-3 sessions, and we did that first song. And I was really into kind of like the ambient folk thing that was going on with that, the really like ethereal, melty storytelling vibe. And it was really working for the songs that I was writing. So around that time, I wrote Funniest Thing, and I wrote Dagger Earrings as well. And then that summer, I started to do a Song of the Week challenge, like complete a song each week. And the first song of the week was Bluebird, and the second one was Girl on Great Jones, which is the album, which is the EP. So it was really just like the first songs that I was writing found their way onto this EP. And that's why there's a little bit of like variance in the, I think, sonic textures going on. A couple of the tracks are way more like singer-songwriter, straightforward folk, and a few of them have this kind of like ambient electronic influence too. And that's just me kind of exploring the different sounds and influences that I was really into and still am really into. So in January, I went down to Nashville. This will be about a year after I wrote Funniest Thing and everything. I put out Answers in August, Bluebird in September, and I recorded Funniest Thing in October. And then I did Girl on Great Jones and Dagger Earrings down in these sessions in Nashville with a producer who I adore named Kevin Dye, who moved down from Brooklyn around the same time. And I just followed him down there because I wanted a road trip. I wanted to see a new city. So we completed that EP and recorded a few other songs that I recently released and will be out this summer. And that was the first session I did down there. And yeah, they'd all found their way onto this first offering. He's a really amazing mixing engineer. So he made my basement recordings through this same Shure mic sound really, really crisp and clean. And I think that's the beauty of home recording. But I'm happy you enjoyed it. And I think there's a few tracks on that are indicative of the sound that I'm going to be moving forward with. So it was a cool first offering for the world.
Oh, how I wish I had one. I wish I had the answers to you. Just smile and say it's alright, did none of us do? Oh, none of us do.
Yeah, the concept of like the bedroom recording, it's like the lines are so blurred now. Like
Absolutely.
It's easier than ever to get a great sound.
I agree completely. And we did this all through the Shure mic, and we even did shootouts with other microphones, and it was just the perfect one for both my voice and not having this really, really bright, perfect sounding guitar, because everything has a little bit of a DIY sound in it. Even though the recordings at their ending sound really great, it's kind of like a compilation of a bunch of staticky white noise, vinyl tape hiss, and all that kind of cool stuff going on. And that was something we didn't want to get rid of. There's me sitting down in the chair in the beginning of Bluebird, and Chris McCarthy, the piano player on Funniest Thing, has like, his foot pedals loud and things like that. And you could polish that all out, or you could make it sound like it was recorded live in a room. And I think we chose the latter because it makes you feel a little bit more warm and organic sounding. I'm from New Jersey. I listened to Modest Mouse was like my first like band. That was the first one where I was like, oh my God, I love this band so much. And I had a babysitter in like the 3rd and 4th grade who played that record. So good news for people who love Bad News. And that was what Float On was on, and Ocean Breeze Salty. And then I just dug back into their discography. And I really just love the rawness and the storytelling. And Isaac Brock's voice is crazy, how he's just kind of screaming and yelling, and really love the imperfection of it. And then along those same lines, I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan. And if you look at the album art for my first EP and the singles, they're all based off Bob Dylan records. So he's kind of paramount in the imperfections as perfection. His early recordings have hiccups, and there's like, tons of room noise, and things aren't mixed perfectly, but the songs are all there. So I kind of had in my mind that if I was writing really, really great songs, that they translate no matter what the recording situation, whether it be a voice note or professionally recorded. So yeah, Modest Mouse, Dylan. I got really into like kind of the post-rock, post-hardcore of like Circa Survive and La Dispute. And I think when I look back, the lyrics and the depth of the lyrics, whether it's a story or whether it's a little bit more esoteric, is really at the center of all of those things. Even the rap I was listening to, I thought I was like super heady, listening to like A$AP Rock and a bunch of these Midwest guys like Atmosphere, that were just like deep lyric writers. And I think it's now a reflection of where I'm coming from as an artist and as a lyricist, always trying to paint that lyric as the center point in my music.
Yeah, you mentioned you wanted to make sure your songs translate anywhere, and I definitely feel that listening to your music. Like, I can simultaneously hear it at a festival and everybody's singing along, or I can hear it like in your backyard with a few friends.
Yeah,
it all makes sense together. Yeah,
that's great to hear, because it's a question I asked. I did a songwriting show that I'm intending on bringing back, but I like to ask guests where they most wanted their music to be played or where they felt most comfortable. And mine was always like in a living room for a few people. And now that I'm working with an awesome producer, and I do love electronic production, we're adding pianos and huge harmonies and stuff like that. But it all starts with me in a room with an acoustic guitar, which is kind of where I think every good song can start from. Like, if you're just you and piano and you and guitar, without any frills, and the song works at that level, then kind of wherever you take it, or if you leave it bare, it's gonna be the song that you want to have come across to the listener. So it was really important to me to both produce up some songs that needed it and also have a lot of restraint and say, hey, we could do huge drums and massive harmonies and stuff on this, or it can just be me and the guitar and it might work fine too, which is scary, but it's a cool thing to kind of consider going into each song.
So were you writing at a young age as well? Because you mentioned you had like some kind of break in songwriting, and then you came back. Absolutely,
yeah. I was definitely writing songs in high school. I was writing some songs in college, very sporadically. I was kind of at the point, I went to school in Columbia, South Carolina, and they didn't have a big art scene. I wasn't really in the arts at the time. I kind of got ushered into the state school vibe and big football stuff. And I think because like by transitive property, I thought because the guitar was in my room, I was a musician and I was getting better at my instrument and getting better at songwriting. And then when I moved to New York, I met a group of some of the most talented musicians in the world, still to this day, that are just doing incredible things. And it kind of was like the splash in the face that I needed, where I was like, oh, New York's always been in my backyard, but people are coming here from across the world to make it in the music industry. You don't get a free pass just because you're close proximity to being here and you've always been here your whole life. Like, there are way better cats than you. So I played in a band. It was an electronic band, and I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted my songwriting to convey. I was kind of just going for cool lines and vibe and stuff like that. And then I did an Ask Me Anything with Adam Melcher, who's from New Jersey, because he was writing some of my favorite lyrics. And I was like, how are you writing these stories? And he told me to just be clever and write stories from your heart, and the cleverness and the wittiness will come across. And pretty much after that, I wrote Funniest Thing, which I still think is one of my best lyrical songs. And Bluebird and Girl on Great Jones and Passport and all these songs are kind of after that. So that was a real shift in where I wanted my songwriting to be, and that was only in the last 2 years. So it's taken a long time of playing in different bands and trying different sounds and getting my voice to where I wanted to be to arrive at this spot. But now I'm feeling confident where I am. Never comfortable, but confident, and always just trying to learn based on lyric writing and clever lyrics and storytelling and all that good stuff.
Suddenly it's me who's in repair. Your gentle heart distracts from what your mind wants. Just imagine if you were standing there. Just imagine if you were standing there.
Yeah. Well, what did you do in the electronic band?
I was the lead singer, so it was kind of like electronic R&B. It was a really cool opportunity because I didn't play guitar live, for me to frontman and kind of dance around and have the mic. But it definitely broke away from acoustic guitar in my room. So some of these songs were sample-based chord progressions and piano chord progressions, and then a bunch of different guitar riffs and cool sounds. But if you sat me down with my acoustic guitar and was like, hey, can you play this song off your album? I wouldn't be able to do it. And that always kind of sat super weird with me. So when I started producing my own music, it was I can take these songs anywhere. I can busk in the park with this. I can play in a living room. I can produce these up. So it was a really cool realization of where I wanted music to start from and how I wanted to be as an artist. You can't not play your own songs. So it was interesting to not have a laptop around and still be able to play the music that I wanted to play. So I had a ton of fun, but it's cool to be back in really where I started from.
So was it last year that you finally started putting out proper releases?
Yeah, 2020. So August of 2020 was my first release. I just put out the EP with my band. The band was called Little Distractions. It took us quite a long time to finish it up, and I felt it was a very quick process of doing my own music. I think mostly because the harmonics and the harmonic structure and the song structure was so concrete because I'd written it on acoustic guitar that Jake and I, producer for Answers, came to conclusions about the sound really quickly and put it out, and it got great responses for a bunch of awesome indie curators, Indie Folk Central and Mr. Fox Frequency and all these really cool, great indie curators on YouTube picked it up and got a bunch of streams that I, wasn't really used to. And I kind of just wanted to keep that feeling going. So I put out Bluebird the next month. I produced that one all myself, which was also a really, really cool feeling. Kevin, my mixing engineer, added some really, really sparse different elements that moved the song along, and put that out in September. And then I'd finished Funniest Thing, but I wanted to stop kind of releasing music as I had it in my hand, and wanted to put something together where I had music videos and something behind the tunes a little bit more. So I went down to Nashville, as I mentioned, and then started putting together some videos and some content and figuring out what the hell I was doing. And then in May, I released the EP. which was cool, and a couple music videos, and yeah, now I'm just trying to keep that momentum going.
We got into it one night, big fight, don't remember the reason, but I had ran out of words to say. You walked away, sure you were winning, but as you did, you lost your balance and fell flat on your face. You were so mad I couldn't help but laugh. I thought it was the funniest thing.
So funniest thing, I didn't really know what to do with production wise, and I sent it off to Chris McCarthy and his girlfriend Kayla Williams, who's an incredible viola player, and they just made it this gorgeous singer-songwriter track, and I thought it fit really well. And then Girl on Great Jones, I was down in Nashville, and we just heard it as this kind of like Dylan folk rock song, because it was very New York, it was very 60s, 70s feeling.
Definitely hear that, yeah.
Harmonica and all. And then Dagger Earrings, I had produced some of myself and was just feeling these kind of answer style electronic drums and atmosphere and sampled piano, and all this heady stuff. And when I put the album together, I didn't really care that it kind of touched on all these different things, because I felt that it was going to be good for both me as the artist and the listener to see what people were drawn to, and what I was kind of feeling was working for the music. So I don't know that I'll put out another song like Girl on Great Jones, like sounding that traditionally folk. I have another song that sounds a bit like Funniest Thing, and I would definitely do some more stripped down tracks and have some stripped down tracks on the forthcoming album. But I think that kind of Bluebird Answers, Dagger Earrings, ethereal, atmospheric, falling asleep, floating on a cloud type thing is what I really want to go after. And it is really a culmination of the band that I played in previously's vibe was very similar. The music that I listen to now is all very calming, for the most part. And I think it's working well as a backdrop for the stories that I'm trying to tell, and my voice as well. I just finished recording my first album, which will be a 10-song LP, and a few of the songs are really stripped back. One of the songs is actually just me and the acoustic guitar, which is super cool. One's acoustic piano. One of them has 30 background vocals and oohs and ahs and electronic drums and a violin and a banjo, and it goes crazy. But I think it's got a little bit more sonic consistency than the first record, which I was aiming for, but I wasn't nervous about. After the first album, I was kind of nervous about, or the first EP, I was nervous about having that sonic inconsistency and having one track have like live piano and the next one have like sampled electronic piano. And I think it all comes down to that nucleus of my storytelling and voice. And so long as I'm kind of telling these these relationship-based narratives, these clever folk song kind of things that I'm aiming for, I can get away with a good amount. It all just depends on what I want to put together as an album. So this one was definitely a little bit more of a focused effort, but I think there's still going to be a good amount of a super produced song and a stripped back song, and it all revolves around that voice and the acoustic guitar, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. I think Dagger Earrings is my favorite.
I'm happy to hear that. That's my favorite too.
Cool.
Yeah.
It does several things that just get me every time, and whenever I hear it in songs, it's like the repeated simplistic melodic refrain that comes back over and over again. So there's that. It's an evolving track, so it starts small and builds and builds and builds. The drums don't even hit until halfway, and the bass even later than that.
Yeah.
So it's this you have to be patient with it.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate. And
it's the tough part of my music, and I think a lot of these new songs are also very like second half heavy too. Which my producer is like a post rock guy, so his original songs are in like the 6 minutes, 7 minutes. Yeah. Some of them are like droning. So like if if we're going for like pop sensibility, some of these tracks, it might not really be there. But that's okay, because I might shift that a little bit in future writings and try to, bring more listeners in and bring, more of the modern impatient listener in. But I also don't want to like dumb down people. Like everyone's just like, you got to get to hook fast. You got to, the thing's got to be in the first 3 seconds or everyone's going to lose interest. And I don't think people want to be spoken to like that either as a listener. I think we deserve a little bit more credit that some of my favorite things happen like 90% through a song. Even Bluebird, like the drums come in, I think, in the last 10, 15 seconds of the song, which is just an odd move, but it just felt really perfect at the time. So if you're patient and you like the song, you'll get to that point. And there's a song called Tourist Trap on the new album, but the last like minute and a half of 4.5 minutes is just incredible. But you got to kind of just settle in. I think that's what the music is meant for, kind of putting your headphones on and sitting back and listening to a full thing. But yeah, Dagger was cool, and Dagger was the first thing I produced with Kevin down in Nashville, so we crushed that in like a day or two, and I was like, this is gonna be an awesome week because this is working out really well.
Haven't seen them for a while. If it wasn't for hindsight, I'd be blind. Oh, wouldn't I? Oh, wouldn't I? If it wasn't for hindsight, I'd be blind. Oh, wouldn't I? Oh, wouldn't I? Wouldn't I just love to get you back? Make this hurt less.
Yeah, there's like just the rewarding nature of you get to the end. And even when I produce more poppy stuff, I'd like to start small and build, whether it's, like not having each chorus be exactly the same and adding a little bit more, just to keep that little flow so that when you get to the end, you want to restart it. You want to go on that journey again.
Absolutely.
So you kind of dabbled in the more electronic realm with the Paul Cosby remix. How did that come about?
So they were good friends of my band and myself from the band days. We actually linked with them in a studio and produced a song from Little Distractions with them. And they just remain really great friends because they're just 3 of the coolest dudes you'll ever meet. They've all 3 put out solo records, and then they make these awesome Paul Cosby albums. And I've been a genuine fan for so long. So one of the things I wanted to do is, take my voice, and because I knew my voice worked over beats and had sang over beats and loved this kind of lush electronics vibes too, to see who would want to flip it and do a remix. One of their biggest songs was an Adrian Lenker remix from Big Thief, which is just not what you'd expect over like a sample and a hip hop thing, but it works beautifully. And Kevin Kuh, the violinist, is an incredible violinist, and there's just a really unique vibe. So I sent it to him. I sent it to Joe, and he was like, we'll take a look at it and we'll kind of see what happens. And I didn't hear from them for a few months and really didn't expect anything. And then one day, man, I think it was in like November, it just hit my inbox, and they were like, hey, like, let me know what you think of this. And I put it through my speakers, and I, was kind of blown away that a band I had really looked up to as kind of like, older brothers in the music scene in New York were into flipping this song and, using my voice on a Paul Cosby album, or a Paul Cosby record, I should say. So, I didn't make any changes to it. Kevin mixed it, and we put it out, and we did a really fun video for it too, which was just us, doing city stuff and freezing our asses off in the middle of February, trying to be outside and COVID safe. But yeah, man, that was a really cool accomplishment for my musical journey, was to have that kind of seal of approval from a band I really, really look up to, and a genre I really still miss and love being a part of.
Window on the plaza, window
Passport, is that from the new album or is that a completely separate?
So I did that in January on the first Nashville session. So my plan was to have Passport, a song called South Georgia, and a song called Ohio be on a 3-song EP. Then I was going to put Ohio on the album. I don't know if Ohio is going to be on the album. It might still be on an EP, but Passport's this very upbeat pop kind of track. Ohio sounds very reminiscent of like the sample based stuff that I'm going to be moving forward with. And then South Georgia is extremely singer-songwriter with Chris McCarthy and Kayla on the track again, like Funniest Thing. So I think I was nervous again for the sonic inconsistencies of like a 3-song EP with 3 different vibes, but I think all things are pointing to it being part of a 3-song EP. And also I just want to put the song out in the summer. I was down doing sessions in Nashville and I really didn't get around to putting a marketing thing together or, a pre-save plan or any of the things that you're supposed to do these days. I said, I just wanted it out in July, which, might not have been the best business decision, but I put it out and I love the song and people are super receptive towards it. So, I think I'll release one more single off of this 3-song EP and then put out the EP probably in September or October. I'm trying to have some support around it, whether that's distribution or an indie label, but we'll see. If not, I'm just going to keep putting shit into the world and seeing what people respond to.
I see both sides of that release angle where it's like either you do single after single to like keep things consistent and people interested over time, or you have like a body of work that tells a story. So I see both sides of it, but you're kind of doing both, which is probably the ideal.
Yeah, I write so much and so often that I want to be releasing consistently, and I do a lot of co-writes, and I'm really doing something I love now, which is writing for other artists in their genres. Done some really, really awesome co-writes for artists and not like collaborations, as well as amazing collaborations. So I don't think I always want to wait to see if I have this like cool marketing idea at the same time. I've seen some amazing ones in the last few months that I'm like, damn, if I had like done this, maybe I would have gotten 200 pre-saves instead of like, 20. And I don't know. I'm trying to open myself up and be more receptive to like the modern music releasing schedules, and you got to play the algorithm and this and that. But sometimes I just think I'm going to just want to put a song out and do a few posts on Instagram before and message my email list and hope Release Radar likes it and, see where it goes from there. I think writing songs and producing music is hard enough without also having to be a music video director or put out videos or find a videographer within your budget to do something on a budget. I don't have a manager or, tour manager or any sort of help. So I'm doing all this kind of like either shooting it on my iPhone or finding someone that will take a discount to work on a project that they love. But, the world moves fast. So by the time I got to Passport's release, I was finishing up the album in the studio and I was like, oh shit, it's coming out on Tuesday. And I dragged my sister to this airport near me and I was like, take a video of me near like the plane taking off. And we did that and it looked really cool, but it was definitely like, if you were on Instagram, which the algorithm on Instagram also sucks. So like, 10% of my audience saw it and it was just like, hey, I have a song coming out, it's tomorrow. And then like, song's here, I'll listen to it. So it was very, very hectic. Definitely not like the best plan, but at the same time, there's a small shred of me that's hoping that the music being good will still find the proper ears, whether that's naive in 2021 or not. But I'm happy it's out, and I'm just going to try to keep pushing forward with good music and try to put a little bit more love behind the releases too.
I can't name 7 wonders of the earth, but I know one has to be her. And just the sound of her voice can bring me around the world. So her kiss is a stamp on my passport.
I was going to ask you about co-writes and stuff. Is there any particular ones you want to shout out?
Yeah, so I have one with Lucy Clearwater that I'm actually going to LA in a few weeks to record. We wrote it last year when I was in LA. I did this trip to Oregon. I kind of lost my marbles in New York City, and I did this trip to Oregon, and then I went to LA and I met Lucy, and we wrote 2 incredible songs together. So I have that one with her. I have one with Haley Reardon that I really love that I think we're going to do some tinkering with. Olivia Klugman and I wrote an incredible song that I love called CVS Song, where it's about seeing your ex in a CVS and just being like an absolute mess. That all rhymed, but those aren't the lyrics.
Just comes naturally.
I was just like, wow, that could be good. And then I've been doing rights with an artist named Emily Deal, who, if you want to talk about like getting creative with marketing and doing that side of things incredibly, she's someone I look up to as a branding person, as an all-around just artist. She's an incredible dancer. She's got these ridiculously funny and unique song ideas. So me as like a really deep lyricist, I think I get to help her bring out the like deeper lyric side, and I'm really looking forward to partnering with her and seeing where she takes just like the music videos and the creativity. She has all these different characters that she plays that she's invented. She's made a children's book style book of her different characters, and she recently did a music video where they all intertwine. She did a whole music video in reverse that she choreographed. So it's just like getting to be a part of really cool artist ecosystems as a lyricist is something I'm really trying to break into. And I think when these songs with Emily hit the world, people are going to be like really into like the package of me as a lyricist and just an incredible artist like Emily, and where she can take these things.
Now, all these people you've worked with, were they people you knew beforehand? Because I always think it's interesting, like as a songwriter, to be like, just walk into a writing session. Hi, I'm Ross. Tell me about your depression.
Yeah, right. So a whole bunch of different ways. I did a weekly show called Stage Banter, where I interviewed songwriters, and I interviewed one of Lucy's best friends, Victoria Canal, and met Lucy and wrote a really great song with her, basically about a similar experience that we had. And then from Lucy, I met Axel Mansour and Nico Frank, and they both were really heavy into Clubhouse. Axel created a room called the Lullaby Club, which has had hundreds of artists and thousands of people come listen, I should say, especially over the winter time. So I was meeting a lot of artists digitally through that, and I did all these co-writes over Zoom. So I met Olivia through Lullaby Club. I met Haley through a different Clubhouse room. I met Emily through a mutual friend we both went to college with, I went to college with, who manages Emily now, who's one of my good friends. So that was really cool to kind of see, her name's Carson, see Carson again, and kind of both bond over music. So it's all different ways, and there's no like one correct way or one way that I've found is the perfect way, but just putting yourself out there and not being afraid of having it just say seen on Instagram or be like the nice answer of like, yeah, that sounds great, we'll schedule something at some point. And I'm like, okay, they're definitely not interested. But then you have artists like Emily that have a dope concept, and I get to writing and we get together and iron out some things, and she gives me some dope ideas and we just write a killer song. And Lucy and I are in the same genre, so I think we both look up to the same people and write a killer song. So I digitally network well, I like to think. And also you got to just kind of know what you bring to the table and what this artist is about. Because I think if they're already writing like the best lyrics ever in a genre that you don't write really, you're not going to bring much to the table for them. But if you're both folk artists, or if like one's a pop artist and you want to write a little bit more pop, it's a great opportunity. And not being afraid to fail in these situations, and give it a different shot in a further session along the line.
Yeah, talking about the digital networking, I'm a fan of like show not tell, because 1,000 people could be like, hey, I can make your song sound really great. but I'll just like take their song and do something with it and send it to them and be like, kind of like what is it? Their name's blanking. Full Cosby.
Yeah.
Like what they did.
Yeah.
Like, and just out of nowhere, it's like shows up in your inbox. You're like, hey, this is awesome.
Yeah, and blew me away, which is great because I'm, just a year and a half into my career here as a solo artist. So as I, get these co-writes under my belt and some of these go into production and go into mix and get released, it'll be a little bit easier to put a portfolio together. It's a little bit difficult right now. Emily had to really trust me and kind of, I had to go in being like, she might just not like this song. And you got to go into co-writes with these other amazing women I've written with and say that like, hey, we might not come out of this 2-hour session with something we both love, but let's do our absolute best. And I think if you're true to yourself as an artist, you'll know what to look for in a co-write and in a ghostwriting session and stuff like that. So I hope to not be led down, too many roads of things that I can't provide value for, artists I can't provide value for. But it's been fun so far, and you make some friends too along the way. So I think like within the first hour of a co-write, you're never going to do anything, at least in my experience, that is like the thing. Like you're going to feel, especially, I should specify, like in a new co-write, when you're meeting like a new artist, because you got to get a feel for each other. You got to like, set the room, see what the song should be about. You're probably going to go through a couple lyric ideas that I may have that the other artist didn't like. Olivia Klugman in my session started with wanting to write about or finish a second verse for one of her stories. And I kept trying to write different things. And I didn't know the story. I wasn't there. So I was kind of writing these lyrics that were like witty and clever and whatever. But she was just like, yeah, but that actually like didn't happen like that. It's not true to the story. So we were both like, yeah, I think this is your story. And also you're an incredible lyricist. So I think you got this one. And then I was like, but I have this idea of like seeing your ex-girlfriend in a CVS. And then she loved that. And I loved that. And she came up with some incredible lines and I filled in different lines. And we came to the conclusion of this like really hilarious tongue-in-cheek song. So it's all about, being malleable and also just putting the song first. There's so many times that I have a really dope line that is just not the right line. And the other artist might have something that might not be as like crazy clever or songwritery, or has a metaphor or, some songwriting device that, will be sought after, but like, it's just a better line, point blank. And I think that's both songwriters and producers need to just know when the better idea wins, not just because it's your idea.
Right, exactly. What would you say is the most difficult part of whether it's putting together your EP or just the modern music business in general?
It's a great question. The modern music business for me is a lot of like the word algorithm. So whether it's I release Passport and for some reason it doesn't drop into release radar because I didn't do my pre-save campaign, because I didn't do my TikToks, because I didn't do my 5 Instagram posts. It's all just like because I didn't post at 7:00 at night. Like there's a lot of art that I'm creating and that other people are creating that's being overlooked just because of the way that these platforms are being set up. So if my face isn't in it, if I'm not selling something, if I'm not using the marketplace enough, if I'm not posting at 7 p.m. at night on a Wednesday, maybe this video that I tried really, really hard on isn't being seen. And it's super annoying. And I think that's why there's a pushback with like email lists and ways to just get in Patreon pages and stuff like that, where you can just get directly in contact with your fans. Because I think a lot of artists are super sick of needing to boost posts or needing to figure out the exact right time and then watching someone doing the exact same thing blow up on TikTok and you are still getting 100, 200 views and just like don't know why. There's like a lot of luck. So that's kind of where I've been recently. I think especially with the live shutdown, and I haven't really had my shows come back yet. I have a show tomorrow and I have a show at the end of the month, which will be really great to really just connect and see people again. And that's why I really loved Clubhouse for the last few months too, was it because I could just play my full songs and I didn't have to worry about it being 59 seconds. Because a song like Funniest Thing takes the entire first stanza to get to the best lyric in the crux of the song. So I never wrote in those kind of ways that the first line of the song, everyone's gonna be like, whoa, like I'm hooked. Like say something shocking, say something so socially relevant, say, you know, something so raw. And certain people are really good at it, and I'm trying to get better at it because I think it's a great songwriting device. But this instant capture kind of thing doesn't really work for a lot of songwriters. And I think it's working for some people in particular, and that's awesome. But there's a lot of us that need some patience out of people, and I think we're trying to figure out the best way to have people listen to a full 3-minute thing and not get bored after 30 seconds. And there's also just like a million songwriters and a million ways to be discovered. And I think another really challenging thing is everyone has like the next best thing, whether it's like, oh no, you don't do PR these days, you run Facebook ads. And someone else is like, no, Facebook ads are useless, you need to be in PR for your SEO. And then the other person's like, you don't have to do any of that shit, you just have to post on TikTok every single day and build a brand on TikTok. And it's like, okay, well, what? Which one is it? And they're like, no, just take this marketing guide. And everyone seems to, there's music business coaches that have told me that like, can't be a songwriter and an artist at the same time. And then I'm like, yes, that's absolutely not. Why would I be able to do that? And then I get later on, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy that's just telling me all this stuff? Like, I don't know. There's a lot. It's information overload, I think, is the best way to distill that all into one sentence. Is there's so many people posting, there's so much music, there's so many of the way to get your music heard. There's so many people wanting indie artists to pay for stuff, pay for Spotify placements, pay for this and that, pay for PR, that I think at some days I just want to close everything, go into my backyard with my acoustic guitar and just play a song and not record it for an internet thing, and just like have it live in my heart for a little while. You're not supposed to record an album. You're supposed to release a bunch of EPs first. And also you're supposed to release all of the songs on the EP except for one. That way, when you actually release the EP, you'll have the second coming of Release Radar and Discover Weekly and all those things. Well, that sucks. Like, because when I had my EP release and I was like, my EP is out today, 4 of the 5 songs had come out already. 5 of the 6 songs had come out already. So that's not really an EP release. It's just one more song. Same thing with albums these days. Like, recently saw an album, half of it had been released on an EP already, and the other 3 songs were singles off of the album. So when the album came out, it was 10 songs, 8 of which I had heard already. So it's just like, it's playing into the algorithm and not the listener. And I don't know, I think there's going to be in the coming years a bit of a sea change in what people just wanting to put out the music that they want to put out, and trying not to play into the hand or whatever dangly carrot app is out these days, because TikTok wasn't around 2 years ago, and now you can't do music unless you have a TikTok, and then in 3 years it'll be some other app that's got 10-second videos, and you can't do anything if you're not on that app. And you know, it's just like, it's a little bit ridiculous with what musicians are expected to just like follow and follow trends. And I think a lot of us are just like, let me just play my songs to a live crowd, and if they like them, they'll come up to me afterwards.
And it's hard when you have to do it all yourself. Like, if you could just hand it all off to your marketing team, whatever, that's one thing. But
absolutely,
for things like TikTok, where it's so personal, where like they want to see you, it's definitely more difficult.
Yeah, and I'm definitely in the market for management at one point. Like, hopefully within the year, I'll find somebody or a team, because I think there's a lot of things that I'm missing just in doing this day to day, and not knowing what I'm doing. So I don't, encourage or condone doing it all yourself. I think collaboration, though, is definitely really helpful. And I've done a lot of that, obviously, with my co-writing and ghostwriting and things like that. But yeah, it helps to have someone looking out for you at the same time.
So you're a few years in, I guess, properly, but what would you say is your career highlight so far, if there is?
The Pool Cosby remix is awesome. was awesome. The funniest thing music video was so cool. I don't know if you had a chance to see that, but it's a hand-drawn rotoscope animation done by this animator in LA named Amy Smike. She's also a choreographer and incredible dancer. And that was, you get told by artists that you need to find people who believe in your music and will do stuff for discounts and do stuff like, for free and for this because they believe in you. And I had never really experienced that before. And then I reached out to Amy through my mentor who knew her work from Pace University where she went to school. And I gave her the song and she was like, I really, really want to work on this. I've got a ton of client projects and corporate projects and stuff, but I think I can fit this in, which I had never really heard before of just like, I'll make time to work on this. And she made a hell of a lot of time because I think it was the first time she had done two movements at once. So there's two main characters in the music video. Music video is 3 minutes long. I'm in it, hand drawn. There's cars, a door slamming, there's rain, there's an apartment complex. So it was no easy feat. And we had to do a ton of reference footage. So I took my girlfriend out on our second date and had her fake argue with me. She's an actor, so she liked it. And got that animation. Then Amy made it really beautiful and more into dance and movement. And it took 5 months of work, and now it's out in the world. And that was absolutely a career highlight to have someone believe in the music and put something together that, even though it isn't going viral or hundreds of thousands of people aren't seeing it right now, as I grow as an artist and as I grow as a human being, that piece of art will always be there with me. And I'll always just be a part of me. It'll always be such a cool thing to have my name attached to. So huge shout out to Amy. And then my music video for Dagger Earrings, because I shot it all myself on my iPhone. So that was a really cool moment for me to be just do it yourself too. Just go out in a nor'eastern with your phone and trust your eye. And I had a really dope editor named Gareth K put it together. And, you find your team and you build with them and they trust you and you trust them. And we just made some dope art this year. So I'm excited for what's next, but that was a really cool thing to happen on my first EP, to have that kind of music video treatment alongside of those songs.
Yeah, a lot of the times, at least initially, your team is just the friends around you.
Absolutely.
And all their talents coming into one, yeah.
Yeah. It's been hard hearing no, but it's been great hearing yes. As an indie artist, I've been told you're supposed to hear no once a week. And I am trying to take it not personally when people don't want to write, when people don't want to spin my songs, when people aren't interested in distribution because I'm not streaming well enough for whatever. But when you meet someone like Amy, who I'm going to, eventually meet in person when I'm out in LA, hopefully, and, have a collaborator. And now Amy worked with Lucy, who I wrote with, for her Spotify canvas. And you're just kind of building this little network of people that are all collaborating and making dope shit together.
I love that, yeah.
It's really cool. And it's a really cool thing to see, and just be a part of. And I think after all the algorithms and the likes and all that stuff, that human connection of someone saw my art, looked up the artists, wanted to make art with that person, they made art, they connected. Hopefully it's just a butterfly effect, and Amy never stops working with cool artists, and I get to say I know her when.
I've even had some of that with this show. I mean, it's only been going on for 3 months now. And some of the people I've had on the show have done live stream shows with each other and things like that. So it's oh, hey, you guys connected. That's
absolutely. It's the coolest feeling, and I love being a connector of folks. I love saying, oh, you need this person, I think I know a dope that person, and having them hit it off. So I think that's one of the really special things. And then having conversation with you right now, it's kind of recentering why I love to do this. And that little moment of my friends are making dope shit because they saw the dope shit that we made is one of the coolest parts of being an artist at any level.
I usually end with, what's next, but you kind of answered that. Album is next.
Album's next, yeah. I think I'll put out South Georgia and Ohio in the fall at some point. And then I'm looking for some sort of distribution or a small label to get behind the record, just so I can, make better music videos and kind of work with people that might be a little bit out of my budget that I want to work with. But 10 songs, really cool stuff, really cool production that really reflects the lyrics and puts you in the space that the story is being told in. And I'm super proud of it. I produced it all with Kevin Dye. He's super proud of it. He's going to mix it. And we'll see where it takes me. But it was a hell of a lot of fun making the album. It's great writing these songs, and I'm just going to keep writing. And I got to co-write tonight. I got to co-write next week. And I'm just, making friends and making music. So
full steam ahead. I like that. Yeah.
I hope so. Why not? Right? Why not? Just stay in touch. Following on all the apps and the Spotifys and stuff, but also keep listening to this podcast. This was dope. Thank you for having me, Jordan. Super appreciate your time.
Thanks for being here, man.
Links to Ross's music and everything else can be found in the show notes. Indie Echo is a product of High Five Music, a digital production studio that brings your bedroom demos to life. If you want your music produced, mixed, or remixed, visit the link on my Instagram at High Five Music, and you can follow the show at Indie Echo Podcast. Thank you for listening.